good morning or almost good afternoon. I went outside, of course, with permission to buy groceries, and I sit under a tree, resting for a minute. This is actually very typical for Titans, the concept of sitting under the tree. I spoke about it in the past. It's an interesting cultural issue. I would say that, of course, if anyone has any doubts, the radiation is not a cyclical natural phenomenon. It's done by spaceships, as I said many times, and painted, the sculptured, and for years now I speak about it. You are under attack, and the only way to somehow, give you some kind of opportunity not to be destroyed as a species is to run to Israel and rescue me and my daughters from the Nazi prison. Now, what I want to do now is very shortly to create a video which will be like a addendum to the several videos of the last previous days with regard that relates to the sexual issues of the Titans. It will not be the video on the method. This will be done maybe later today, but still like a addendum, because there's several videos. The sex ed 1-on-1 and several and the McFish videos. As you understand, these kind of videos, I spoke about things that took me a lot of time to understand, and it's still ongoing. So these are fresh theories, and I'm not ashamed then to admit that. And to build the theories with you, with my audience, and I'm sure that the critical, but also the thankful person of the audience that they understand that these are work in progress theories, and might not everything be accurate, but still they should be grateful to have any kind of information on such important subjects. And another introductory note, I don't want to have this to do this video too long, so relate to things that I spoke about in the past in many videos. If you are newcomers to, maybe you just feel that you lack background. So I'm sorry. Maybe I don't want to have a full complete monograph with background right now, and so we will relate to issues that I've spoken about in the past that are interesting and important. But if you are not aware of the issues, you will need maybe just fill the gap somehow, or wait for me to have more more videos to reiterate the issue that I've spoken about in the past. Of course, with the new light, the new discoveries. So let's get to business. So not in order of importance, just whatever come to mind. So there was a question of as I said, there is the issue that the Titan females, they to ask the males, Titan males, to cut a little bit of their penis and to give it to them to eat. And it's amazing, that they are so cruel. And this is something that they do both in Venus and in Earth, for those that arrive to Earth. And it's amazingly cruel. Now, why should the Titan, do such a thing? Is it because of the method? Maybe, because a lot of the method, is a lot of the effort of the method is in order to crush their spirit completely and to make them behave whatever the slave owners want. But there is another issue that is even more important here. This is more, it's relevant to the situation in Earth. In Venus, it might be different, and I guess it's just the most extreme case of the Wild West. They have no laws, and it's Israelis. In any case, they have no laws, so they just do whatever they want. So it's probably be difficult to have any generalization regarding the cruelties that are done in Venus by the Israelis, because not because it's not manifestly evil, just because it's probably completely chaotic and lawless. But in Earth, this is the thing. The Titans in Earth now, in our episode, they have very limited lifespan. It's not like in the past, in the 50s, the 1950s, 60s, they lived a subhuman citizens and tortured for many years. Now they died very quickly because the Americans don't want to like repeat the cruelties of the 50s and 60s and the punishment that they received by God. So they decided that, I mean, one of the presumably key aspects of the sins of humans in the 50s and 60s is that the Titanless foreigners lived like as second class citizens without rights in Israel for a long time, and they, I mean, tortured. So they decided that now it's best that they will not live in Israel at all, just, I mean, just a couple of days before they are killed. And in these days, they will need to serve the Israelis. And for some reason, I mean, I guess the Americans have some kind of concept of God, which is incredibly, I mean, I would say bizarre. I mean, I cannot relate to any such picture of God, but presumably their God, I mean, whatever it is, I mean, is like fine with this arrangement, and like, and I mean, see it as for certain much superior to the arrangement of the slaves of the 50s and the 60s. That's the case right now. And I can tell you because they all look like me, so everyone thinks that I'm one of them, and they treat me accordingly. So I don't really know, I mean, how long can they live? I have no idea because I am not one of them. I mean, I can live like my whole life without any kind of sexual relationship with Titan female and without getting any of their fluids and drugs and whatever. I'm not addicted to anything. I'm self-sufficient. So I don't know, I mean, if it's like a year, but it's not a long time. Because they must be dead very quickly in order not to repeat the sins of the 1950s of creating like a new like subclass of sub-citizens, like a class of sub-citizens. So they must be murdered very quickly, according to the Americans, and the Israelis agree with that, because they hate them anyway. But sometimes such a Titan male meets a Titan female in Israel. Now, it doesn't happen by chance. It happens because the Titan females, I mean, they know what they're doing. They're part of the Israeli intelligence. Not all of them, but I mean, many are powerful, some more than others. And then it's easy for them to actually lure this person into their vicinity in many ways. And they actually did it to me many times, you know. But it's not the time to elaborate. I spoke about it in the past. So in such like when they are, I mean, together, the Titan female and male, as I said, it's illegal to have sex in Israel. It's absolutely illegal. They must not have sex, but they can exchange bodily fluids, like in all sort of like, I don't really know how, but I mean, it's probably, I mean, whatever you think it is, like pee or poo or I mean spit. I mean, yeah, I mean, well, I mean, yeah. So a typical thing that happens, not always, but sometimes, is that the female asks the male to cut a piece of his dick and give it to her so she can eat it. And in return, she promised a little bit of the stuff, the tea, because she produces tea. Because she has been in Venus, presumably if she's a rich one, and and had sexual relationship with Titan, or I mean, maybe because he himself, like, he started the cycle. So now she's like in an elevated position because she produces the tea, which is so expensive and valuable. And it's also prolonged the life of the Titan male. So he's given a choice. I mean, you can just go away if you want, but you're going to die very soon. I don't know how soon, but soon. Or you can give me a piece of your dick. Now you don't need your dick anyway because sex is not allowed and you will never get back to Venus. So why do you need it? You will still be able to pee even with a cut dick. And you will get some of the stuff that will prolong your life. I don't know how much, but I mean, somehow. And if all goes well, maybe we can do the arrangement again, like in 3 months, or I don't know what's the time frame. But maybe, I mean, they do it all. I mean, and the Titans, I mean, their body grow, not like me. I mean, I am like all Wolverine. Like, I mean, my tongue now is almost completely back to normal. And like in a couple of days, I mean, it went from being like leopard, like, I mean, torn apart by, I mean, this was all documented. It's not a legend. It happened like 2 weeks ago. It was documented in this channel. So in a couple of days, God, I mean, had miraculously like almost restored the tongue completely. I don't believe the Titan males have this ability, but they have some kind of, I mean, more and more evidence, I mean, led me to think that, I mean, the Titan males are, like, I mean, I would say, like versions, I would say, of the cherub males. I mean, a version that is like, I mean, you know, man, it's like, I mean, yeah, it's kind of like, I mean, the obvious metaphor is to speak about, like, I mean, you know, androids, like, I mean, the more like advanced versions, like, I mean, and lesser advanced versions. But even though I think it's like, I mean, it's kind of expected, and maybe I mean, misses a lot about reality. Yeah, I mean, I agree. There is something to this metaphor. So they also grow the penis. So maybe she said, she tells him, I mean, so in 3 months, and you will live these 3 months because I will give you enough of the MIT, because for her it's not a problem. Let's get back again. Maybe we'll exchange fluid again. No sex, illegal, but exchange fluids. You'll cut another piece of your dick. This is not a conjecture. Like the fact that it's done sometimes, like repeatedly by couples like that, is something that I know for a long time, and I spoke about it in the past. But now I understand it better. So every, I don't know, months or 2 months or 3 months, he needs to cut his dick that grows and give it to her, and she eats it, and she gives them what is needed in order to live for like another month or 2 or 3. Until, I mean, she is no longer, she doesn't want, I mean, or maybe she gets a command because they are also part of the intelligence services. They get commands from their superiors. So I mean, after some time, she terminated this arrangement, and then he dies. He's dead because they lack energy. They need energy, so they just commit suicide to avoid this like death by excruciating pain of lack of energy, or they died like that. This is very common in Israel. It's not science fiction. And much of what I told you right now I already knew before, but now I have like more context, and it's more a much better way to other things that I discovered and I spoke about recently. Yes, this is Israel. This is how cruel it is. Now, because the Shabak, you know, they operate like like half communist like organization. I mean, everyone needs to share like everything that they get. So she needs to to not eat all the piece of penis by herself. I mean, so she eats most of it, but I mean, later part, some parts are given to other to their cell or things like that. You know, that they share like their loot, like pirates. And we should understand that, I mean, there are a ton of nanobots. I mean, not my own nanobots, because they are of lesser, but this way she gets like a huge boost in nanobots. A huge boost. So they like this cannibalism. Now, it is believed in Israel, and probably true to some extent, but it is widely believed in Israel, that the Titan females possess, and this is something that I understood long ago, because it was easy to understand it, because, I mean, it's very widely believed in Israel that the Titan females possess supernatural psychic ability to control the males, to tell them what to do. So these kind of fantasies are very common in the Shabak, because I mean everything that they do revolve around like controlling other people and things that, I mean, it's part of the material, in a sense. So they are very prone to believe in such things. So and the theory is that, I mean, each male must have like one female ruler that rules over him, and they do whatever they told them. Now, this goes totally against the nature of the Titans, because it is widely known that the female Titans are actually, their sexual fantasy is that of submission. No need to be shy about it. I mean, it's, first of all, whoever that had like a sexual relationship with them, and I mean, and if you are, you have a little bit of sexual experience, you understand very well, what's in front of you. Almost 100% of them are like, they like to be like subs in bed, which is fine. Whatever. Of course, it's almost exclusively done in Venus, because in Earth it's illegal, despite very specific circumstances. So it's kind of weird that the sexual fantasy will be that of subs, but in a way, the natural way it will be to control the males. It doesn't make sense from an evolutionary point of view, and also not by design. But Israel likes to believe it. Now, they also believe something in Israel which is actually true. Now, the second part is actually true, which is that the more nanobots, the more neurons that the female Titan consumes, the more powerful she becomes, And this gives her all sort of like mental powers and physical powers that could be arguably considered superpowers, even though it's a matter of definition. And that is manifestly true. And it's true not only to Titan females, but also to Titan males and to Homo sapienses. And it's true to, and maybe even to cherubs. I don't know, because I'm just a producer. I never consume because no one gives me the neos. I mean, so I just produce and produce. But this is for certain true to both male and females, both of Titans and Homo sapienses. And that if they eat like a large amount of it, they became addicted to it, and they became some, like what I call the hybrids. And after some time, you cannot even distinguish between like Homo sapienses and Titans. Like, as I said, I have like, I mean, for a long time, I have like an entourage of, I call them Neros. I know, I repeat, it's the third definition of the word Nero that I coined, and this was actually the first of the three. I mean, the Neros are all the nanobots and are also the same species, and also I call the Neros the, I mean, you will excuse me why I repeat the same terms. There is logic, besides, I don't want to get into it, but the Neros are also, I mean, what I call I presume something like 70 or 80 or 100 like people of the, I mean, the strongest of the Israeli intelligence in Shabak in the Mossad, that, I mean, they ate so much of it and for so long that, first of all, they can't have sex at all. Whatever they are, males or females, they can't have sex. They can't have children, they can't have sex. And I can't even say if they were originally humans, like Homo sapiens or Titans. And my suspicion is that, I mean, that these creatures are like, I mean, are kind of like hybridization, and that they themselves don't even remember what they were. I mean, it's maybe it doesn't even matter, because they were completely like, I mean, they changed themselves like to some kind of like new form. That this form is, and they do the most dangerous and disgusting like missions for the Israeli intelligence, specifically assassinations, impersonation. They have the most ability to change their form. They have like the most ability to to affect other people's thoughts. They have a lot of like superpowers, and they also much more than any other like type of creature that we spoke. They can torture me, and like they have influence over my mind to do all sort of stuff, and they use it a lot, like in order to torture me. But there are also severe disadvantages to the situation. First of all, even more than their like influence over me, I have tremendously larger influence over them. To the fact that they, this relates to the symbolic language. I mean, before I knew the symbolic language, they had, the power over me, because I didn't know that. Because you need to know the symbolic language in order because I do it scientifically. I mean, not like as a magician. I mean, many people, like in Israel and probably in Plus as well, treat the whole issue of the Neros communications like as hocus pocus billy bocus. And maybe I'm the first one. I hope I'm not complimenting myself too much, but maybe I'm the first one, at least in modern times and in our context, that actually insisted on not conceptualizing this as an issue, as a supernatural issue, but trying to understand the science behind it, and you know that, I mean, that's much of what I do since January, and even before that, because the symbolic language it also relates to the symbolic language of the starships, and this is issue that at least 2 years I'm occupied with it, from scientific point of view and artistic point of view. So I try to think of it as an exercise in communication and linguistic, not magic. But yes, once I have now I have much better understanding. The first steps were the most difficult, because it's a new language with alien life form, and no one can help you, and so it was extremely difficult, and I needed a lot of siyata dishma, the love of God. But after many months, I reached very preliminary first step and first conclusion, but they were extremely helpful, because you need to start somewhere. And since then I have had more advancement, and once you know the symbolic language, I have tremendous power over these people. I can cause them and to make them suffer immensely, and I've done it in the past. Also, when there is radiation events, now, they are the most vulnerable to this radiation. They are subject to extreme pain more than anyone else, Titan or Homo sapiens. I have no problem with the radiation, by the way. It doesn't affect me at all. but they are the ones that are most affected by it. And the only way for them to actually, I mean, to survive this like radiation events that can happen a couple of days, I mean, up until this one will continue forever. Certainly in Israel and probably everywhere else, unless someone will move an arm or a leg to rescue me and my daughters from the Nazi prison. But usually it takes a couple of days. So, I mean, in order just to survive this and not like feeling like their flesh is burned, torn apart, the only thing that they can do is to actually just follow me wherever I go, because, you know, I have the umbrella. Like I have a starship, it's always above me, but it's not the one that is doing the radiation, but it's kind of a shielding from the radiation. And I understood it very long ago, and until now I'm not 100%, I do not 100% understand what's its purpose. I mean, it's probably not that it's more complicated than you can actually think initially, because I do not need it in order to survive. I have no problem with the radiation. This is probably, a way for me to be beneficial to other people. And of course, the Israelis, never said thank you. They only torture me more and more and try to subject me more because, in order for me to give them this umbrella as well. That's the way it is in this hell. But the issue of the umbrella is well known in Israel. And it was manifested to me long ago that there are for some time there is a stretch of days that, wherever I go, I have 70 cars that follow me. And you can't miss that. You don't need to be super spy to see that this is real. And if you take a U-turn unexpectedly, they all do the same. After in this next traffic light. And this is manifestly true. And it's not long ago. And these are actually the guys, the Neros. It's about 100. They are the most ruthless and the most powerful of the Israeli intelligence. They have no problem in murdering people. They don't have sex life at all. They are hooked on the T of the Titans, females. They get the most of it by the Shabak itself, of course, because they need it, and they have tremendous power. They have powers over me more than any other creature, but at the same time, I have tremendous power over them. In a way that I can kill them if I want. And the only reason I don't do it is because after a lot of time, I'm not I do not do things lightly, especially important things. And after a lot of consideration and meditation and praying and speaking with God, I understood that the punishment should be attributed to behavior, not to people. Of course you can say that behavior, in group theory, that every behavior is a priori defines a group. But let's not get into the mathematics here. But you need to concentrate on behaviors, not specific people. Now, the Israelis believe that the females have this power over the males, and they believe that it's certainly true for males that just arrived in Israel, which is presumably all the males, because they live very shortly in our time. And they also believe that it's truer high level the Titan female is. So what does it mean? What do you mean? It's things. It sounds like something for a computer game. So what do we actually mean here? So there is an hierarchy between the Titan females, because not all of them arrive to Earth at the same time. Some are newcomers, and some are here since at least the 70s, and some are way before that even. And in general, the ones that are here for a long time and they were related to the Israeli intelligence, they possess a lot of power inside the organization. Such one was Sivan Kriegsman, that I mentioned in the past, worked in Hermetic. That's why she is highly regarded in the Israeli intelligence. Of course, as all the rich, and she's also rich, and as all the rich and powerful ones, she is doing the excursion to Venus that I described in the previous videos, and you know exactly what they do in these excursions. it's evil beyond imagination. The only thing that I can say, I mean, it's kind of like, I mean, Sanegoria, like, I mean, advocacy, but it's not really advocacy at all. I mean, yes, I do believe by divination that as all the titans that, I mean, were here, like, in the previous episodes, whether it's the one that happens in the 1970s or the one in the 1940s, and even before that, because this actually predates the formal declaration of the State of Israel. It also relates to the history of Zionism. So all of them suffered immensely by the hand of the Israelis. And certainly she's one of them, and certainly, and I believe very strongly that she had 2 boys and that they were murdered by the Israelis, as was customary at the time. We are speaking, I mean, it's probably something that took place like in the 1940s or something like that. Back in the day, it was very common just to murder the babies of like it wasn't. I mean, everything that I said, like the sex, the videos and the follow-ups and the addendums, and it relates to now. But as I said, this issue, I mean, they have a history in Israel, and it wasn't always like that. I mean, it was changed. Like so, the situation in the 70s is not exactly like now, and it's not exactly like in the 40s, and it's not exactly like in the 1920s. So yes, in the 1940s, this was actually one of the things that, I mean, they had babies, and many times, I mean, the Israelis, I mean, just murdered them and ate them. Yeah, yes, just like that. They just ate their babies. And I believe that it's something that happened to her. And she's one of the ancient ones, like at least in the Israeli context, and I believe it happened actually. And I believe that, I mean, it happened not during the last episode in the 70s, but during the 1940s actually. She had 2 boys, and they were both eaten. And this wasn't irregular. It was one of the things that happened actually. They took their babies and they just ate them. For the nanobots, of course, but it's a big one, It's like a prize. So, yes, maybe God will take this into account during Judgment Day. But everything else that I know about her is unbelievably cruel. Unbelievably cruel. Unbelievably cruel. The cruelties that she was part of for so long are, I mean, the eyes, I mean, they are just, they cannot, like, stop crying when you get to know the things that she was part of for many, many years. Of course I do not forgive her. Of course not. Of course not. But I'm not the judge. God will be the judge. But of course, I have my standards, my understanding, and of course, you cannot. I mean, whatever the people they did to you, I mean, even the most hideous, and it was the most hideous. I mean, of course, it doesn't justify. I mean, like becoming a monster for so long, and not just a monster, but monster that works in close cooperation with the same monsters that actually. Anyway, she's highly regarded, so they think that she has like a very strong psychic powers, especially over males. And this actually explains something that bothered me for some time. Because as you know, I worked there in the Hermetic for 6 months, and then they fired me in a very unfair way. And I understood that, I mean, it's not about professionalism, because I was very professional. And I would say that most of the time I worked with her very closely, and it wasn't typical, because she was one of the founders, in a very high managerial position, and I was very new. Of course, everything was something that she called. It was all a plan that was done by her. I mean, it's not a coincidence. So most of the time I worked with her, me as the engineer, she was the VP product, and it's actually a high position, and entirely, and she spent many hours with me, and I enjoyed it very much because she's very intelligent. So I enjoyed working with her. As I said in the past, after I knew her, I asked her for a date, and she told me that she has a friend, and she hinted very blandly that but I don't care. And date. Let's just fuck. What? Don't be stupid. But no, of course I didn't. I chose not to understand the hints, and of course I didn't try to do anything with her. I never touched her in my life. Even though I admit it was fun to work with her because she's smart and also attractive. But once I understood she has a boyfriend, which actually she married at some point, it was out of the question. And at some point I understand that many people think that we are actually having sex, which if it was just that, I could have forgiven it, because people like gossip, and yes, we had very good chemistry, and maybe I don't know, I can forgive this kind of stuff, because yes, we had good, evidently good chemistry. So maybe yes, but of course I never did anything like that. So it was 0% true. But the problem is that at some point I understood that either they have videos that shows that, or that she actually is the one that's spreading the rumors. And most certainly she's the one that speaks about it in great details about their sexual adventures with me. It never happened at all. I didn't touch her with his finger. And this led to a lot of people in the company to be upset about me, which makes sense. A new engineer just came and having sexual exploitation with a high manager that is also married, and presumably receives all sorts of benefits, even though nothing like that happened. I worked my ass very hard and I received no benefits. But you know how people think. They build their theories, and they cannot translate it to hatred towards her because she's a manager. But they can easily translate it to hatred towards me, and I was fired after 6 months with shame, and since then I'm not working and I have no salary. And everyone hinted me that they know what we are doing, and that they don't like it at all. And I was very upset, and I was extremely upset with everything. But one thing I didn't understood for so long, why did she do it? Because I understand that she's the one that's spreading the rumors. So why should you do it? What do you gain from it? It was such a... And she's rich and powerful, and I was I lived in a rented house with 2 babies, in joint custodies, and I worked so hard, and I really had no time for nothing, just working, raising my daughters, and nevertheless, I had very good accomplishment in the 6 months over there. I really put a lot of effort, and I've done many nice things in the system. And she knew that very well, because she worked she planned. She planned that I will work on a specific project. That with her very closely, and together we've done very. In short amount of time, a very from technological aspect, very successful, kind of proof of concept, and so she knew, that about my professionalism, and yet she, and I understood that. At the time I wasn't new to the issue of the intelligence communities, because this happened after my heritage, where I understood that the intelligence services of this world, and especially in Israel, they follow me. And I understood that most of the male, as usual, are homosexuals and pedophiles, and they are little children, and that the females, never mind if they are titans or female homo sapiens, they spin them over the finger typically, because they are they're puppets. They're the males. Look at the ones in the apartment that this is the gutters. I'm not saying that the average worker, engineering hermetic, is the same quality of the person in the gutter, in the hostel, homeless hostel people. But what's true to all of them, whether they're professors or gutter people, is that they are extremely childish. And it's very easy, typically, for the females to manipulate them, because they are little boys. And I've seen it many times, because these people surround me, so I've seen this dynamic. So I understood very well that she managed all this way. She manipulated everything. And she knew exactly, I mean, what to say and what to hint for her to get out of it with like embellish me, like without any blemish, like I mean without cleanliness, like totally clean, and that I will be like I mean the hated one, and I will be the one that is fired, and I will be the one that with bad names and hints of like sexual improper sexual relations, even though nothing happened. And I understood that she knew exactly what's going to happen, and it happened just like that. And I didn't understand why did she do it. Why did she do it? And especially, why did she, I mean, had to fabricate all these, like, sexual, like, fantasies, very elaborate. And the lies must be, like, elaborate because these people, mostly they don't have sex at all. Not only with women, they just don't have sex because they take medicine. So they really like you know, stories about, you know, I mean, very, very graphic stories about all sorts of, like, sexual activities that are very, you know, I would say, like, you know, like, hard porn. That's the kind of stories that they like. So, I mean, she manufactured, I mean, it was easy for her to manufacture any type of story, and she knew what they like, and at the same time, what will cause them to hate me. And they hinted in very, I mean, in way that I understood, I mean, the gist of these stories. So why did she do it? This is such a cruelty. So the answer is that yes, she's cool, and I mean, for many decades, she is, I mean, accustomed to doing things that are much more cruel even than that. But there is another issue here. She had to protect her name, not like her credit as a very strong psychic female. Because what was obviously true, they thought, she and others thought that I'm a Titan male, but one that had a lot of sex, presumably with Titan females. Even though it's illegal, they thought, so what? Okay, I mean, people do illegal stuff. I mean, the fact that something illegal in Israel doesn't mean that they didn't do it. So maybe I have a lot of sexual experience with Titan females, and this gives me like my life. That's why I'm not dead. And also, I mean, presumably I was able to keep my dick intact because I mean, I didn't had this business, the dark business, because I mean I was lucky. And actually, I mean it's not an impossibility. It's manifestly wrong because I mean nothing of that even touches my biography at all. But I mean they like to tell stories in the Israeli intelligence and also abroad. So I understand that they can believe such a story. It's not impossible. But it's very important for them to believe that she can command me to actually cut my dick and give it to her to eat, so she will give me the tea. And she obviously didn't do it, either because she spared me, because she didn't like me. I'm certain she's done it in the past, but with me, nothing, I mean, even remotely like that happened. Or maybe because she cannot, because she has no real power over me, because I'm not a Titan. But she was like in an awkward situation where, I mean, she need to save face. Like, what can she say? I mean, I don't have any power over him. He's just, I mean, a scumbag Titan male from Venus, and they and look how scumbag he is, and divorced, and live in a rented apartment, and I mean, you know, no money, and always running from place to place, and I mean, I'm so rich and powerful and strong in this organization. And everybody thinks that I'm such a psychic. I mean, is it possible that, I mean, that I cannot influence him to do this thing, and he have interest anyway because he wants to be alive. So, and I'm not, and she can't give me the tea for free because, I mean, tea is only been given for free to any scumbags in the Shabak, Homo sapiens. They all get it in grand quantities. That's part of, I mean, their perk. But male Titans get it, I mean, even though they need it to live, they get it very rarely and only for the price of cutting their dicks to be food for the Shabak, but especially for the Titan females. This is the way it is in Israel. This is reality. So how can she explain that? I mean, is it possible that she cannot use her famous psychic powers over, I mean, a lowly, disgusting male? So the answer is yes, she can say, I mean, I don't want it because I like to have sex with him. That Titan females, I mean, they like sex, but usually they can't have sex. You should remember that they can't have sex because it's illegal for them to do it with males in Israel, and males are short-lived, and I mean their husbands are pedophiles, and they're also this issue with disease. And the only way to do it is by crossing the gate, which is not easy if you are not rich, but she is actually rich, so for her it was probably easy, but I guess not something that happens like every other day, and also half of the time it's actually dark, and I guess you can do it, but maybe I'm wrong, like because the nights are, in Venus a day is longer than a year. So it's not like, even the most like liberal-minded and rich female titan in Israel, as all the people in the Shabak and the Mossad, most probably, her main activity with regards to sex is that she speaks about it. They're children, they like to speak about sex. They don't actually do sex, because even if she's rich and powerful and free-spirited and have no, reservations, it's not like that every other day that she can pass the gate and find like a male there and, do whatever, Paleolithic rough sexual ride. It's not probable. So she mainly likes to speak about it, like all of them. And that's what she did. And this is a good story that explains why she didn't want to eat my dick. Maybe she, maybe in another way. Certainly it's part of the story. They really like explicit stories. But it explains why she didn't command me using the psychic powers to cut my dick. Because she wanted sex. It's not like every day. And I was like, was already working in the company where she's like a manager or something, so it was very easy to arrange the thing. Otherwise, think about typical Titan male, they arrive from another planet, they can find themselves very easily in jail, and that's probably what happens. So how can such a woman of high, such social standard, even come to actually be in any vicinity of such a male? And I was just right there in their company, so it's kind of it's a good excuse to say, yeah, I want sex, and this guy I can have sex with him, and he's right here, so it's much more better for me to actually have sex with him, and I will describe you that in details as you like, and that's what she did, than commanding using my psychic powers. And that's why she saves face, and no one suspect that she lost her magnificent psychic powers. I don't know if you find this story funny, but this is all part of extremely evil system. And think about me, fired and no money, and until now I don't have money. And I couldn't find another job because any other job was also, with mediation of the Shabak, and they would bounded me to be a whore even to a larger extent. But I'll speak about it in some other time. Now, another issue as part of the Dandom is the question of how is it possible that they all look like me? So I've thought about it, during the last couple of days, and I'll tell you what I think now. This is work in progress, it's new theory, but I want to share it with you. So what I think now is that, no, it's not exactly, it's divine intervention, but it's not that, I was modeled after, the model that is it's the other way around. They knew about me, and they modeled all the males to look like me, because that way they can first sell the lies, the one of the most prevalent lies that I always go to Venus to do all sorts of stuff, which even though I've never been there in my life. But one of the tenets of the defamation of the Israeli Shabak and Mossad defamation is that I go there to do all sorts of stuff, probably bad things, because it's a place without law. So they wanted me to portray it in very bad way. And if the place already is filled with literally clones of myself, it's much easier to actually do such videos. And maybe, I don't know, maybe there is something with my looks that makes it easier to actually allure the females in Venus. We need to understand it's another culture, and I wouldn't say, certainly in the standards of the planet Earth, no one will say that I'm particularly handsome male, or not ugly one, but not particularly handsome. it's manifestly true, and no need to be ashamed about it. But maybe they have different, like maybe it's completely different, like place, like when they have different culture, different norms, different, and maybe in their where in Venus, this is actually maybe this is like this is like the ideal, sexually the ideal, like the fetishized male. You don't know what's the standards. It's another planet. So you cannot judge. Maybe it's mistake. It's a mistake to judge to evaluate like their sexual preferences. Using things that are common in Earth, and I only know about things that are common in Earth because all my life I lived in Earth, and I know that here. I'm not far from being like a male model. But not ugly. So I've had sexual relationships in my life with Homo sapiens, mostly Homo sapiens as females, and normal. I would say normal. So what happened actually is that they modeled them after me. So and this makes much more sense. And all the people that in the street that think that I'm like a new male from Venus and treat me like garbage, they don't think that I'm like the first model. They think that I'm like one of the many clones. Maybe they don't even know about the first model and don't care. But it makes much more sense that for various reasons they are all modeled. They all look the same, but they are modeled. They are selected by how if they look similar to me, and then their appearance is changed because you know that they can do it to look exactly like me. Again, not taking into account things like muscles and fat, which I guess that like that they're typically they have much less muscles and much less fat than I am, because it's just that they are paleolithic, and so they don't have like food like so much like we have like in developed countries. Okay, very interesting. Now, but this is actually leads us to an even more interesting issue. Because this cannot have taken place a long time ago. Just a second. It means that this kind of like arrangement that all the males look the same and are modeled after me is kind of new. And I already said it, that it's most probably something that the Israelis and the Americans coordinated not a long time ago. So let me tell you what I think happens now after reevaluating the history. And I say new things now, and I'm not certain about them. This is new. This is like new theory, fringe theory, but I think it's important one, even if some of it is wrong. So I will outline this new theory, which relates to the recent history of the situation. What I think happened is that, in general sense, up until the age of 20, not many people understood that I'm not Homo sapiens. And this was, even though I was born and raised in a family that is related to the Israeli intelligence, Shabak and the Mossad, and I was born and raised in Ramat Aviv, just near the university, which is literally inside the headquarters, like national headquarters of the Shabak. But, miraculously, or maybe even ironically, but with kind of like a logic behind it, people and of course taking into account the distributed nature of the Israeli intelligence, not many people knew that I'm not Homo sapiens during my childhood, and this was a great thing that I owe to many people that in Ramat Aviv. Of course, many of them are, work for the Shabak and the Mossad, and they decided to keep this to themselves. And it is possible because of the distributed nature. And of course, that I owe a lot to it, because if the knowledge about me was very common when I was a child and like a teenager, these people have no limits. The Israelis are cruel without limits. They would have tortured me. Since I'm zero, and by the time there was no way that I could speak with you right now, like a human with understanding, and understand your inclinations and sensitivities. I were either dead, most probably dead long ago, or completely sociopathic and detached from human society. The fact that it's not true is only because I have pretty normal childhood, and that is because the many people, probably not many, but several people like in Ramat Aviv and Ramat Aviv Gimel, that are part of the Shabbat Mossad, they didn't speak about like the fact that I'm not Homo sapiens. But when I was 20 years old, I started an officer's course. And officer course, so you have like 3 parts. Like first it's achana, like 1 month of preparation, which is pretty stupid, and then like 3 months on Bahad Echad, like even though I didn't do it in Bahad Echad because there was like a very short period where it was under construction, and it was actually took place like in Bahad 12. So it was just in this year that I was participated in officer course in Bahad 12 in Tzrefin. Tzrefin near Rishon LeZion, and it was nice. And during this time, I mean, people found that I have like I don't know, they found something peculiar with the testing. Like they conducted like the military doctors or something. They conducted tests on me. And anyway, there, I mean, they wanted to be like to go to the safe side. So they decided that even though it's very uncommon, it's not that common to actually recommend it to young people, 20 years old, they decided that it can be beneficial that I will do colonoscopy. Just to make sure that I don't have like anything very irregular. Because, I mean, the blood test didn't like adds up. And so it's 2 days like preparation, and then I went to, I took like a leave from the course, the officer course, and I went and it was a military actually hospital in Tzrefin, and so the military doctor, and they did the thing, you know what they call colonoscopy. It's it's done with like a kind of sedation. It's like not completely like sedation, but part sedation. And then they're done. And what I think is that probably the doctors and the nurses, they looked at the monitors and they told themselves, am I delusional, or do you see this as well? Like it was most certainly the largest what the fuck moment that they had in their life. And they didn't tell me anything, but this knowledge gained momentum inside the military. Now, let's make it more interesting. After the course was done, there was the 3rd phase, which is called Hashlama. This means that, it's the last phase of officer course, which is, and then this is done in this, not everyone is doing the same. Like for example, the intelligence, the people, they have their own, Hashlama, it's more specific, material that, that it relates to officers, to being, how to be officer in a specific, I would say, branch of the Israeli armed forces. So people of the intelligence corps, like me, they do it in Bahad 15, Bahad 15, and it's actually, it was relatively really long, like 3.5 months, and it was actually, atypically it was much more difficult than the actual officer course. Typically it's for jobniks, for non-combat units, typically, this is the nicer part and the easier and more relaxed part of the officer course. But for intelligence people, it's famously it's very famously the stuff in the Bahad 15, they're really they are selected by how presumably their ability to act like Nazis. It's at least back in the day, it was by far of all the ashlamot, of all the 3 phases, that it was considered the most difficult and much more difficult than actually officer course, and not fun at all. But okay, as they say, we have passed Pharaoh, so we also passed this phase as well. And after 7 months in accumulation, yes, I've received the 2nd lieutenant rank. Nice. But another thing happened during this ashlama, during this course, the intelligence, like this, the intelligence officer course. So it's very, I mean, there is something that always they do, at least back in the day and like for decades. I mean, part of the course is that you have like 2 or 3 days excursion, like trip to the north, where you, I mean, see all sort of like things that are interesting, both historically and currently in the north of Israel, the Golan and the Galil. You visit like places and you sleep like in military bases in the north. And you see all sorts of stuff. Like, I mean, you can also see, like, I mean, things that, I mean, were in the past interesting from intelligence point of view. You know, today it's like outdated, like a Pita Surit, and you know, all sorts of and things that are related to the past. But I mean, they are still part of like an ethos of intelligence, like officers. Like I mean, that Oz 77. And never mind. That's really, it's not interesting. And also, you visit Pikud Tzafon, the bunker, like the Northern Command, the bunker of the Northern Command. For us, it was done differently than how it's always done. We didn't sleep at all in any base, like in the north. It was it was done in one consecutive, like I mean, like trip without sleeping at all and almost not eating. Like 30 hours or so. I mean, and I mean, I didn't ask too many questions because I understand that this kind of like, I mean, it was a fucked up course, like I mean, very difficult and very not fun. I mean, and you ask, so why should it be fun? Because I mean, in other, like I mean, it is known that I mean, like in the Navy, in the Israeli Navy, which is like a joke, but I mean, that's, I mean, this part of like officer course is like, I mean, they famously just, I mean, like lie like on the beach and like, I mean, smoking hookahs and like having sex with each other. So I mean, compared to that, this I mean, it was really not fun at all. So it's another like, kind of torture that they subject us to 30 or 40 hours of like consecutive trip in the north without sleep. There is the issue with sleep. I spoke about it many times. There is the issue because Titans, when they do not sleep, their neos are getting much stronger. I don't know why, but it's a fact. And I was thinking that maybe this whole thing was coordinated solely for the purpose of me being it, because I understood, okay, this one is something else. His body contains many of the nanobots. Let's see if actually we can make him stronger by depriving him of sleep, which is the normal state in the officer course. Like I mean, there's like I mean in the military, like I mean the IDF, like I mean it's like I mean there is like an order that shouldn't be passed that you have to sleep at least 6 hours every night, but. And so in every kind of course that I participated, they actually, they respected this order like without like a compromise. Like I mean, yes, no matter what, you would sleep 6 hours every night. But in like this course, like the intelligence officer course, it was completely different. I mean, no, they didn't care at all. I mean, and many times we slept like 2 hours or 1 hour a night. I mean, and nobody cared. It was really disgusting, and for no good reason. Just because they are assholes. Yeah, I didn't like this course, as you understand. So you were always in sleep deprivation, and then another sleep deprivation of like touring all those like Pita Surit, Bental, Oz 77, Koch Tzvika, all these like ridiculous stories. And then, when I'm like a zombie without sleep, but presumably with very strong neos, a trip to the bunker. Now, this is a fringe theory, but I know it's a fringe theory. But let's open our minds to new theories. So I've said that. I mean, during the episode of the 70s, the cruelties of the Israelis were known in the international scale, and several things happened. Among them, they deprived him of usage of the gate in the south, like the Dimona gate. But maybe after some time, the Israelis found another gate in Israel, in the north. Maybe they found another. Maybe the culture that built the gates actually, was centered in historically in like Israel or whatever it was. Probably the continents were different, but maybe it was like that in the north. So they found it. I don't know how, but they did. Maybe by chance, I don't know. Or maybe they had clues because, maybe they knew about another gate in the other side, so this can give them very strong clues. And at some point, during the 90s, I think, they decided that they to build a bunker without any precedent, without nothing to compare to it in Israel. This is the North Command bunker, which is by far the deepest and most elaborated in Israel. By far. There is nothing in Israel that is even remotely related, like close to it. It's very, very deep bunker. It's supposedly, it should withstand any type of nuclear attack, and you can continue to manage the war. From the bunker, without even of everything above you is like nuclear waste. It's not really needed because come on. The Syrians back in the day they had several junk T-39s or T-81 Soviet old tanks, and now you don't even have that. They have nothing now. But it really need that bunker. But yeah, the Israelis wanted to do for the North, especially for the North Command. It's not like that for the Central Command or the South Command in Beersheba, and no. But it's not like that even in the Kiryat, which is the main base in Israel. They also have a bunker, but not. It's not even a fraction of the size of the North one. And it was actually terrifying. In a good way, in a way to you get you enter the elevator and you start to go under another deeper into the mountain. You feel like the dwarves in Moria, that they dug too deeply and they discovered the Balrog. They dug too deeply. The dwarves, the greedy dwarves of Moria. And you actually see it because sometimes you see the mountain, you see this, how they dig the mountains, because it's not all covered with stones and ceramics. So sometimes when you get down under, you see that you can see the mountain on top of you, without end. You feel just like the dwarf, like the Thorin or Durin or Balin or Bambarin or Bombadur or whatever. And you think maybe these dwarves, these greedy dwarves, maybe they dug too deep. Maybe they dug too deep. Maybe they dug too deep. But maybe they now rediscover something that they already knew, but maybe they forgot. But it was now again manifested. That it's not enough to have a gate. You need someone to open it. You need titans to open it. And they weren't really sure about do you need males or females, because information sharing is not their best characteristic. And they still have titan females, mostly abroad. But if this was the case, they could have I guess maybe capture a Chinese one. They have no limits. They will do everything that they want. So maybe they took they captured Chinese Titan or two, and they tried to use them to open the gate, but they failed. So their next option was to say, okay, maybe males are needed, because back in the day, in the 70s, they had males here. They lived a second. You see this, you hear the sirens. They don't want to speak about it. So they remember that in the 70s, males were actually always passing the gates because it was one of their, one of the aspects of the slavery was to conduct the raids themselves. And if they couldn't fetch new slaves, they were punished tremendously. So they thought to themselves, yeah, we remember that. Maybe males are needed. But they are nowhere to be found, as they say. The great white buffalo is nowhere to be found, not even in China. Not even in China. So they had a new gate, and one that is not known to the Americans and the Russians. which is great. And they have a bunker that is a great, a new and huge, deep bunker, which is a great, like, cover story for this gate operation. But what do we do with the great white buffalo, which presumably is needed? Probably this all happened during the 90s. But during 2004, maybe 2005, 2004 was Officer Code, 2005 was Ashlama. 2004, a surgeon, like a military surgeon, and an hysterical, presumably hysterical military nurse came up with an amazing story to their military commanders. Amazing story. So the guy, wow, actually he's not a Titan, but maybe close enough. Let's try to use him to open the gate. And the nice thing is that he doesn't even need to know about it, because you can just build something around it, or pass the elevator through it. And voila, he actually did it. So maybe it's not true that I've never been in Venus. Maybe he actually visited one time, but without even knowing it. Without even knowing that, and just came back, and I didn't even know that it was part of like an interplanetary tour. It was just part of like bunker exploration, and cosplaying the dwarves of Moria. But this didn't, and the Israelis, they like to walk quick, so probably since then, 2004, they built a settlement there, and resumed all slave operations and started with the method of the triggers, which I speak about later. There was only one problem, is that you still need the mail from time to time, and as time passed, it became manifestly true that I am not like, even though I was an officer in the intelligence corps, I was not made out of material, of the normal material of people of the intelligence community. I like to do all sorts of ridiculous things that they really frowned upon. Like I like to sing and it really irritates them. They're strongly against. They suffer it. To some extent, but I do it quite a bit, and it's really annoying for all the commanders in the military. So it's not only that I sing, I speak after I sing, and so it's which is even more annoying. So this asshole is not only that he sings, he speaks about whatever his thought. This is this was very and he's critical towards his commanders, and he doesn't understand. And most of them, and on top of all that, he has also moral fetishism. That he thinks of himself as a moral person. He believes in God, and also crazy stories that we haven't heard for a long time now. And in short, this is a fucked up robot. We got a fucked up robot. He's amazingly weird. Not like any of us, and not like the robots that we knew in the past. He's doing totally ridiculous things, like thinking and speaking and being critical and believing in God, and it's really ridiculous stuff. And it seems that he's doing it only to annoy us. But later, this guy actually had 2 daughters, and they discovered that they can use the daughters for the same purpose, and this gave them a great advantage, because they thought, okay, so let's just put this asshole in a mental asylum forever, so we can eat them alive, and no one will ever need to know about the guy. And of course, we control the mother because she's under our control. And using scumbags like social workers, we will actually be the ones that raise the daughters, and they will grow up to be instruments of the state. And without the hazardous influence of the crazy father, who's also with his crazy ideas, without this influence, and with the mother that is doing exactly what we tell her, and especially when they live in a city like Shoam, a town like Shoam, which is, all of them are robots of the Israeli intelligence and Israeli different community. It's highly probable that they will not be raised to be similar to their father at all. They will be raised to be fascist instrument of the state, and that will be great, because we will have 2 openers of the gate. We just need to get him out of they must not. He needs to. It's impossible that he will actually raise them, because so they need to divorce right after they are born. But then with his craziness, he's like holding a huge custody battle because he wants to raise them in joint custody, which is ridiculous. And the judge even grant him that, so they are with him for half of the time, and this is annoying for so many reasons. So they employ their social workers that will take care of the situation. And after several years of battles, yes, they have their share, and he's out of their lives. And I haven't seen them for many months now, and my heart is broken. But they got what they wanted. They now control the fascist instrument. They will be raised to be fascist instrument of Israel. They will open the gate whatever they needed, and they will do whatever the state tells them. They will go to hate their father, which presumably abandoned them as children. And they will hate not only their father, they will hate all males, and specifically all male titans, which will be great because you do know how we deal with male titans. So they need to, from early age, be prepared to the cruelties that are the fate of the male titans. But it will be easy for them to digest these cruelties, because first they will not have the moral crazy influence of their father, and also they will have father issues because they will believe that he abandoned them. So in any male titans, which will actually look just like their father, that they will meet, they will see the barbarian, disgusting, deadbeat father of their own that abandoned them as children, and they deserve all these cruelties that are their fate in the hands of the Israelis. You don't have many more hours before 100% of Homo sapiens will have cancer. You need to run, not to walk, and certainly not to speak. You need to run to Israel to release me and my daughters from this hell. You don't have many hours left. Radiation will destroy the earth very soon. Maybe a day, maybe 2, maybe just a couple of hours. If you want to live, this part of you, some of you, you will run. You will not speak, you will run with the mouth closed.